All right, guys, so let's talk about audience insights. We briefly touched on it before, but I think it's more important kind of to go into a little bit more detail about how to actually use audience insights and use Google Trends when you are formulating these audiences, really to kind of get the data straight from the source of two of the companies that have the most data and are the best at organizing that data in the entire world, Google and Facebook. So audience insights, is available right here in the Business Manager, All Tools, Audience Insights. And we're just going to take a couple real world examples because I think it's kind of the best way to illustrate really just how to find and hone in on your perfect audience, how to figure out things to split test on, interest to split test on when you actually are going out to create your ads. Because that's going to be a big focus in future modules, actually creating the ads, split testing them, duplicating them, but actually knowing how to find the best and most likely interest that your audience that you're targeting, that you're trying to target, is going to be interested in is incredibly important. So let's say that we're like a real estate agent and we were trying to find people who are interested in buying a home. So what do people do if they're, what would they be interested in if they're interested in buying a home, right? So the first thing, and I actually just recently bought a home, one of the first things that I did was I went out and checked on Zillow. So Zillow is, for those of you who don't know, is a website that helps people kind of find, new houses and things like that. So if we type in Zillow here in interests, we see that 64% of people who are interested in Zillow are women, 36% are men. We see that the 18 to 24-year-old age bracket drops off dramatically because generally people who are 18 to 24 probably aren't kind of in the market to buy their first home, but people who are in the 25 to 44-year-old range, really that's the sweet spot, right? But I wouldn't have known that, and I wouldn't have been sure about that without having typed this in. So this is a perfect example, right? And again, 55-year-olds to 65-year-olds plus, it drops off dramatically because these people probably aren't, in the market for buying a home because they probably already have a home and it's already paid off and things like that. And so this is definitely our sweet spot, but we do see some action here in the 45 to 54-year-old range, so we wouldn't definitely ignore this. But we do know that 25 to 34 and 35 to 44 is definitely our sweet spot. So if we were making an ad campaign here, we would actually come in and we would just type 25 to 34. If we were doing this, how we're going to teach via split testing, then I would probably make one campaign and have it 25 to 34. And then I would make one campaign that had one ad set that had 35 to 44-year-olds, just so I could be able to compare, okay, we're getting cost per leads of $2 for our 25 to 34-year-olds, and we're getting cost of leads for $5 for a 35 to 44-year-old. So obviously we'd focus more ad spend and scaling for this age range. So that's kind of the idea of split testing, which we will get into. But for now, I just want to kind of explain how to actually use audience insights kind of in real time. And so we see that there's both men, both genders. Sometimes you'll see that it's like 95% women. And so then showing the ad to men, for example, would be a waste of your ad dollars. And so if this said 95% women, I would choose only women, just so I'd be able to have the highest chance of our ad performing well kind of from the start. Because that's kind of the goal here, guys. Remember, we're just trying to create as many shots in the dark, quote unquote shots in the dark, but we're doing it, intelligently. We're trying to do it in such a way where, it's most likely to succeed and be profitable from the beginning, even though we know that the true profit from Facebook ads comes kind of from iteration, optimizing your ad campaigns, and then obviously, creating custom audiences and retargeting people. And so that's just one thing. So Zillow. So let's see what other things people who are interested in Zillow are also interested in. So if we come to page likes right here, we're going to see that people who are interested in Zillow are also interested in Weight Watchers, which is interesting. Pottery Barn, Pier 1. See, I don't know much about Pottery Barn or Pier 1, but this makes sense, right? People who are buying a new home or looking for a new home are interested in IKEA because they have to get furniture for it. Pier 1, again, you have to get decorations and furniture for your house and things like that, which is interesting because after, obviously the highest affinity score would be for the page that we're interested in. We see that Pottery Barn is number 2. So people who are interested in Zillow are 26 times more likely to also be interested in Pottery Barn than the average Facebook user that's not interested in Zillow. So definitely one that we would want to try would be Pottery Barn. So we'll select that one. Obviously, we'd want them, The basis of our advertising campaign here would be people who are interested in Zillow. So we're going to narrow the audience here and put Zillow. So this means that it must also match. And make sure not to actually accidentally choose employers here because it's only 2,800 people. But we are going to choose the interest of Zillow itself. So we see that we have 3.3 million people who are interested in Zillow and also interested in Pottery Barn. So we're going to cut that down a little bit, and we're going to type in, or this is actually going to improve it or make it larger. So we're going to narrow further, and we're going to do home goods. So that cuts it down from 3.3 million down to 370,000, which is getting a little bit better. People always ask me, what's like the best potential reach or like audience size, and it really it depends on what your niche is, whether you're kind of doing cold traffic and things like that. I generally would say that anything under a potential reach of 300 to 500,000 is probably considered quote unquote small, even though that seems very large. But most lookalike audiences that you're creating have like 2 million or more people in them, in the USA at least. And so generally the range that I'm shooting for is between 300,000 and kind of 2 million, but even those lookalike audiences, I like to cut those down a little bit. And I've found that kind of a sweet spot for me is in that 300,000 to 500,000 range. But even if you want to get super, super targeted, you can even go, 100,000 or less, but you're not going to get as many impressions and your ad's not going to get shown to as many people, obviously. So I don't know what Joanna Gaines is. Let's see what this is. Joanna Gaines is, HGTV. So she must be like somebody who does like house stuff, maybe like decorations or something. And if you're watching this and you know who she is, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I just don't watch a lot of TV. So we're going to put in Joanna Gaines here. Joanna Gaines. So we go from 370,000 down to 230,000. So that's getting a little bit better, right? So we're just going to leave that as it is. We're going to do English as our language because I always just do English all because I create advertisements in English. And so we're going to call this one traffic campaign home buyers interests equal Pottery Barn, Zillow, Home Goods, and Joanna Gaines. Sorry. Okay, so and one other thing that's actually pretty cool, I'm pretty sure that there is a first-time home buyer in here. Yeah, here it is, demographics. So 8.2 million people who are first-time home buyers. And so that cut our audience from 230,000 or whatever it was down to 8,900. And this is broken right now because it's literally not changing. Even with 8,900 people, it's saying it's broad, which is not true. Sometimes this gets a little glitchy, but generally it does work. And so 8,900 people is a very small audience. But if we wanted to, have a very, very high likelihood of getting some type of, success or interest, then having a very small audience would be good. Just so we could kind of prove to ourselves that people are actually going to be interested in our ads and things like that. Because if this tiny audience isn't interested in our ads, then our ads aren't designed correctly. But I generally don't like to make it that small. So what I'm going to do is actually combine some of these and do Zillow here. I'm going to delete this one. And I'm going to put Home Goods in here with Joanna Gaines. And now our audience size is going to be, 100,000. So that's, wow, I've actually never seen exactly 100,000. So that's pretty good, right? So that's just a way that we can do that. And, if we were going to make a split test, we could run this ad exactly how it is. But if we're going to duplicate it, which we obviously are going to duplicate it, because again, testing is how you become successful on Facebook. What we would do is we would duplicate this, and then we would, erase all of these, and we would try just Wayfair, or just IKEA, or just Screaming Owl, or just Groupon, right? As just a single interest. And as we get more and more data, and our custom audiences start to get populated with data, and our lookalike audiences start to get more accurate, then we can use those right here, and then we can just try one or two interests. And that is when the magic really starts to happen, when you have an accurate custom and lookalike audiences here, and then you're just duplicating it on single interests, and you find those single interests just right here from Audience Insights, and we found that just by putting in an interest, right? We could do Redfin as well. And we see that on page likes, it changed a little bit. People who like Redfin like the Points Guys, Dave's Killer Bread, right? Home Away, Kettle Brand, Traditional Medicinals, Zappos, right? And so people who are interested in buying a new home are also interested in wine and whatever this is, and errands, right? Because I think this is a furniture company. And so that's just a great example kind of how to make audience insights really work for you, just so you don't feel too overwhelmed. Like, how do I know what age to even start with? Like, how do I know what gender to go after? How do I have any idea what detailed targeting? Let audience insights show you data from the source, right? Don't guess, just look it up. So let's look people who are interested in Zillow. And we're on Google Trends right now, if you didn't see that. And we're going to be targeting people in the United States. So we're going to type in United States here. And we see that people who are interested in Zillow, and I like to do by, I guess we can do it by, let's do subregion. Oh, it disappears, or no, it's down below. No, it disappears. Okay, so we're going to do subregion. And so we're now, instead of just targeting straight up the United States, we're going to target people who are in Oregon, Arizona. I'm doing this so backwards. Sorry. Washington and Idaho. I just did Oregon first because it's where I'm from. And so now, it went from 100,000 people down to 9,200, which is obviously, makes sense because we're targeting 5 states out of 50. And so, it's 1/10 of the amount of states, which means it's 1/10 of the potential reach. But these states have been shown to be, more likely being interested in Zillow. Another cool way that we can use Google Trends is people who are interested in Google, because Google Trends and Audience Insights kind of operate in different ways. People who like Zillow have already shown their interest, but Google's a little bit different. You don't go onto Google and like a page, and I guess you could with Google Plus, but you don't really. So we can do search terms like how to buy your first home, and we can do that search term, and we see that it's very seasonal here. But we can see that that's very popular in New York. Type in first-time home buyer. And now we can see that Delaware, Rhode Island, Maryland, Florida. And so, we could basically, guys, what I'm trying to prove is the possibilities are basically endless here. So if we typed in Zillow, if people are typing into Google Zillow because they're interested in finding Zillow, or they want to learn more about Zillow or get to the website Zillow, that means that they're interested in a home. But if they're typing in first-time home buyer, then maybe they're trying to learn about it, and you can tell that they're actually interested in becoming a first-time home buyer. So we could type in city here, and we can get even more specific, that maybe we think that Jacksonville has a lot of first-time home buyers, and so we're actually targeting people that are in Jacksonville and who are also first-time home buyers, right? And I hope you guys are starting to get how powerful this is, utilizing and synchronizing Google Trends, because you're literally getting Google searches, Google search data aggregated in such a beautifully intuitive template here, and you're getting Facebook browsing history, and you're getting, these are factual things, data-driven decisions, so you can set up your ad campaigns right from the very start, guys. So I hope you enjoy that one, guys. And that was pretty much everything that you need to know from a basic level of how to kind of leverage the unbelievable power of Facebook and Google data using Audience Insights and Google Trends to create kind of a very educated guess of your initial targeting. Because again, guys, every advanced and amazing Facebook advertiser knows that I could create these campaigns and they could completely suck. But after my first campaigns, based on the data, based on the results of these campaigns, the results of these ads, then I would be able to know for sure what was working, what was not, scaling those, and then actually creating truly profitable campaigns once we have that pixel data and lookalike audiences to work for. And we're going to show you exactly how to do that, guys. I'm very excited. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and let's get to the next.